Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of United Talks podcast. And today we're going to be breaking down Rúben Amorim's pre-Brighton press conference. We're going to break it down, into, different sections as we, prepare for the game against Brighton. He talked about a couple of things. And yes, if you're watching this video, please do like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything. If you haven't already, just do that. Hit the like button as well. Where we do deep dives like this, we analyze and all of those things. We analyze everything so we don't have to kind of go with what is being put out in the media. We break it down word for word and basically, try to make sense of whatever he's saying so we don't have to come up with situations where we have to assume things. I mean, there's so many situations where we've had other people come out in the media and say stuff like, oh, Rúben Amorim likes to talk too much and all of that. This time around, I even looked at like what he said during the press conference, and I measured like the amount of time, especially in this first part one, where they will ask him a question within 10 seconds and he answers within 30 seconds. So his responses are usually between, like both response and question are usually between 50 to 59 seconds. So if you combine them together, he kind of explains everything in detail and gives you his thoughts as well as what is out there and all of that. He does that, pretty precisely. If you look at it, and we do all the breakdowns, we even break the questions into segments. And this press conference had 9 segments for just a 6 to 7 minute press conference. But it is what it is. There are certain questions he answered in 22 seconds, literally. Like he answered in less than 22 seconds. Questions was 10 seconds. He answered in another 12 seconds or 13 seconds, as the case may be. So it all depends on how you see it. But the media will always put out things the way they want to put it out. But we will analyze it here and break it down. And that's why we are where we are and who we are with United Talks podcast. So Rúben Amorim faced the press ahead of Manchester United's Premier League clash with Brighton and Hove Albion this weekend at home at Old Trafford. And as always, the Portuguese coach was calm, composed, and thoughtful in his delivery. From praising Brighton's fearless style under Fabian Hürzeler to giving insight into Harry Maguire's form, Bruno's leadership, Lisandro Martínez's injury update and squad updates, and Amorim's word also painted a picture of a manager laser focused on progress, not just praise. So let's dive into everything Amorim said before we take on Brighton at Old Trafford. The first thing he talked about was the team news and Brighton challenge. When asked about the squad and the challenge ahead, Rúben Amorim was very straightforward as ever. He said the squad is fine. We have some doubts. Harry Maguire and Mason Mount had knocks, but nothing serious. Licha is out. The rest is ready for the game. He then turned his attention to the opposition and he said, "Oh, you could sense a genuine admiration. You could sense a genuine admiration from his voice and from what he said. He said Brighton are really fun to watch. They are strong on the build-up, dangerous in transition, and very complete this season." Right? He said we will need to play really smart and focus on everything. And focused in everything that we do. And that is pretty much straightforward. The line, really smart and focused, sums up Amorim's approach. Against teams like Brighton, who play with bravery, precision under, Hürzeler, it's not just about tactics, it's about discipline and adaptability. He talked about it specifically about how they play and all of that, because that was the first question that they asked him around the team update and all of that. Now, he respects Brighton. He respects what Brighton are building, calling them a very strong team. But the subtext here is clear. United can't afford to get caught up in open exchanges, right? And that is straightforward from what Rúben Amorim was saying. The second section of this was with regards to his admiration for Fabian Hürzeler. When a journalist brought up Brighton's young manager Fabian Hürzeler, Amorim smiled and didn't hide his admiration. He says, "You can see by the way they play, really intense. The quality is there. They believe a lot in what they are doing, and under pressure." And even under pressure, he says, "I'm a huge fan of Fabian." Straightforward and all of that. That's classic Amorim. Giving credit where credit is due. He's a student of tactical football himself. He answered the question with regards to the philosophy, and he recognized when another coach is pushing boundaries. Hürzeler, like Amorim, preaches proactive football, fluid movement, quick pressing, and bravery in possession. So it's not just mutual respect, it's almost a glimpse into how Amorim sees sees himself reflected in the next generation of coaches. And then the next question we're going to talk about is in regards to moving on from Liverpool and building momentum, because the question was around how do you manage and balance the momentum, as in moving on from Liverpool and still maintaining the momentum. And and this was on one of the more telling moments, which when Amorim was asked how he balances the high of beating Liverpool with the need to stay grounded, and he says we use the good spirit of winning games, but our focus is on the next one. That is in the past. In reference to the Liverpool game, we are not thinking about the last game, only this one. No emotional hangover, no celebration tour, just a measured mindset. And it is what we actually need. We don't need to start hanging over, because I see Arne Slot is still talking about the Man United game. I did a short video about that. You see it on the channel. He's still talking about the Man United game, even after winning 5-1 against Frankfurt. It's a constant reset, win or lose. The Amorim, that is what Amorim is drilling into the squad since day one. United's big win at Anfield might have been symbolic, but for Amorim, the work continues, man. The work continues. And he also talked about the narratives. We'll talk about it pretty much later down the line. But the next section is on Bruno Fernandes and reaching 300 appearances and his leadership as well. A huge talking point ahead of the game was Bruno Fernandes potentially reaching 300 appearances for Manchester United. Just recently he scored, I think he got 100 goals in 200 appearances or something like that. Amorim was asked about his captain, and his response was heartfelt. It's a little bit different from what I expected. Everything you read about the players sometimes is not that. His frustration comes from wanting to help. It comes from a good place. He takes losses personally and is a great leader, a great footballer. The fact is, one thing you have to think about is Rúben Amorim understands Bruno, because obviously you're there. You're not. Most of these guys who make these comments about Bruno Fernandes are not there to see it in the dressing room. Oh, they say and they still keep talking about it till today, flailing arms. Like, many players react differently to things. That is his personality. That is his personality, very driven and very expressive. But certain other players don't. Even when other players do it, they don't flag them. But because it's Bruno Fernandes, and because it is Man United, and because he's delivering, and because he's the center of attention for the media and all of that, they talk about it. And they talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. Guess what? It feeds into the fans. And before you know it, they start talking, oh, Bruno Fernandes likes to flail his arms. He's a net negative. I've seen loads of comments on Bruno, and I'm like, what are you guys saying? Even when he had an okay game against Liverpool, people said, "Oh, he had a very poor game." Come on, Man United just literally won. But yeah, I digress. That's the fascinating insight on Rúben Amorim. Admitting that before arriving, he heard the noise, the criticism, and the perception that Bruno Fernandes was overly emotional. Straightforward. But what he has discovered is a player who lives and breathes responsibility. He talked about it, always wanting to take responsibility, and he takes the game personally, takes the loss personally. One who hurts when United lose. I mean, who doesn't hurt when United lose? He's supposed to be hurting because he's leading the team and leading from the front. From the first day he stepped into this team, he has been leading from the front. The one who also demands the best from himself and from others. As Amorim put it, he wants responsibility all the time. It's a rare trait in modern football, and one reason Bruno Fernandes remains indispensable under even his new regime. So it is what it is, but most people don't like him. I've seen a lot of comments say, oh, it's high time we let go of Bruno Fernandes, high time we let go of Harry Maguire, but these guys still keep delivering, even though I know that they're coming to the end of their contract or they're older or something. But like, in the moment, we don't need all those like negativity and negative comments. We're gonna build. It's gonna take time. People are still gonna come take over. But I've said this on another channel, like if we were to replace someone like Bruno, the best thing is to replace him with someone who has been in the team at least 1 year before Bruno leaves, right? And I've seen a different, perspective to that, and that is Elliot Anderson, who is one player that I know that, based on what I have seen from what he has played for Nottingham Forest, even though Nottingham Forest fans are saying basically that he's not going anywhere. We're not going to get him even for cheap as well. But it's one thing to think about, basically. Now, we need to talk about the next part, basically, under the next section, which is United's adaptability and winning spirit. And Renari made a very important comment here, which we're going to talk about. Reflecting on United's recent run of wins, Amorim explained what's been the most impressive part to him, talking about Manchester United team's performance. He said, we have one identity, one way of playing, but we adapt to the kind of game we need. The first half against Sunderland was not the same as the second. Against Liverpool, we managed the game differently because it was needed. The adaptability is key. Rúben Amorim has always been adaptable, but the fact is, most times it doesn't work, and they're like, oh, this your system doesn't work, this your formation doesn't work. That's what they say. Oh, you know it doesn't work, and you know you need wins. I remember a certain press conference. That's why I do these press conferences. I remember a certain press conference where someone asked, you know you need some wins, right? And that's, I think, either Jamie Jackson or Simon Stone, one of those two, asked those questions. Oh, and you know you need a win, right? I'm like, you know, these guys, everybody puts pressure on Amorim when they should kind of let him thrive, you know. And he's building a team from scratch. But when it's Liverpool, you hear stuff like, oh, they're adapting, they're transitioning. Yeah. Now, he says, and the fact is, the adaptability is key. Amorim's Manchester United can go from controlling possession to grinding out results without losing structure. He added, sometimes you have you have good spirit, you get the bit of luck that helps you win. And he talked about it with reference to even the Liverpool game, where he said, if Cody Gakpo if it was 20 centimeters, if it was 20 centimeters closer, maybe Liverpool could have won or scored or something, or Cody Gakpo could have scored a goal. He made reference to that. So, yeah, it speaks volumes, basically. It speaks volumes. Amorim doesn't romanticize football. He knows that momentum and mentality will win. He knows that momentum and mentality will win as many games as tactics do. So, facts. That's what Rúben always does and says. Then the next one, or next segment, is with regards to Harry Maguire's revival and future. I said this yesterday. Harry Maguire had always had been a revived player since last season. He just became more evident this season, right? Just became more evident this season. It came the inevitable question came, which was Harry Maguire. His resurgence under Rúben Amorim has been one of the stories for the season. But yeah, you hear people, one of the stories of the season, you hear people say stuff like, oh, Rúben Amorim has never improved any player and all of that. But the coach smiled before answering. He says, we are really happy with Harry. He is really important for us, but we need to focus just on the next game. That was a very diplomatic answer, because he was asked about the contract situation and stuff like that. And his contract is up in the summer and all that. But later, when pressed about Harry Maguire's form and fit in the system, Amorim gave a more detailed tactical explanation down the line. He says it's good for him to play with 3 centre-backs. He feels more comfortable in the centre, doesn't need to move wide so much. You help some players with the way you play, and he's a massive player for us. He even challenged Maguire to improve further, saying, obviously, he said this in exact words, he's not young, but he can be so much better with the ball. He has the quality, and he needs to show that. And that's Amorim in a nutshell. Praise with purpose. You know, he's built Maguire back up with confidence and clarity, not sentiment, and that's why the English defender looks rejuvenated. And the fact is, whether he plays or he's on the bench, he's leading, and that's the most important thing. The next section was with regards to Lisandro Martínez's injury update, and Amorim also provided an encouraging update on Lisandro Martínez's recovery. He said he trained very well, not with us, but on the next pitch he's feeling well. The knee is responding. I don't want to say a specific day, but he's close to training with the team. And he says, oh, he trained on the next pitch, and I even had the chance to watch him, and that's a significant development. Amorim's tone suggested optimism, but patience as well. I mean, he wants Martínez to be back, but only when he's ready to rejoin the intensity of the full training. He even says at some point he would have to fight based on his rhythm, and he keeps talking about this rhythm, and I get it now, and I've been getting it ever since we've been breaking down his press conference. he said, oh, that when his rhythm is right, then he can now rejoin the team. Then it's actually part of Amorim's long-term mindset. Every comeback must be sustainable, not rushed, and that's facts. I mean, we have players who can fill in those spots, so I mean, that is what it is. Now, on the media narrative and staying grounded, this is where, you know, I talked about it in our last video and in one of the press conferences, post-match press conferences, where he said something like, keep the narrative, right? Keep the narrative, but we're going to focus on the next game. In one of the lighter but more telling exchanges, Amorim was asked about his post-Liverpool comments when he joked that the media should continue their narrative. He smiled and explained, if Gakpo's shot was 20 centimeters different, the narrative would have been completely different. So we must stay calm and clear on our path. It's a great point. Amorim refuses to be swayed by praise or criticism. One goal here or there shouldn't rewrite the season's story. And that's the kind of emotional, you know, detachment that kind of emotional detachment is what we need, and is what gives him the authority. He is never too high, never too low, just keeping it there, because obviously the job of coaching at Manchester United is not an easy one. And then obviously, final thoughts on Rúben Amorim's mentality. We're going to just talk about it. As the press conference wound down, Rúben Amorim's closing line captured everything about his leadership. The game is in the past. These were like unique quotes here. The game is in the past, the goal is in the past. This was with regards to Harry Maguire. Let's move forward to the present and the future. And that is what he said with regards to Harry Maguire. And that's Amorim's mantra. Constant evolution, constant refocus. You know, heading into the Brighton game, he knows it will take intelligence, discipline and control, because Fabian Hürzeler's team will test United's press, their shape and their patience. But with Amorim's calm guidance, United are learning not just how to win, but how to grow through every challenge. And then to close this all down, the full breakdown of Rúben Amorim's pre-match press conference was filled with respect, reflection, and relentless focus on progress. Manchester United faced Brighton at Old Trafford with a kickoff around 17:30 BST, depending on where you're watching it in the world. But if United win, it will mark another major step forward under Rúben Amorim, not just in results, but also in mentality. This is one thing we have to think about as well. Rúben Amorim knows what he's doing. He knows what he wants to achieve and all of that. And that is straightforward. He's not going about beating the bush. He's not going beating about the bush, going on and on, talking about things and trying to, you know, savor the win. We've won, that's it, move on and all of that. So it is pretty interesting to see what Rúben Amorim, you know, is trying to achieve with this team. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. We'll continue to build, we'll continue to have build momentum and, you know, and move with the way we, you know, do things and the way we analyze our game and all of that. Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you haven't already, please do like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything. I read all your comments and I try as much as possible to comment to respond. So put in a comment what you thought about Rúben Amorim and how he handled this part 1 of the press conference, and when part 2 is out, you will definitely see it out there on our social. So let me know if there's something in the comment section, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, goodbye, and God bless.